And welcome back. Scientists in the U.S. and Switzerland have announced an amazing revelation that supports the biblical story of Adam and Eve. Researchers say a new study shows all modern humans are descendants from a common father and mother who appeared on the scene 100 to 200,000 years ago after a cataclysmic event almost wiped out the human race. In an interview on Fox and Friends, Dr. Robert Jeffries, pastor of First Baptist Church of Dallas, said the scientists are still not fully embracing the Genesis account of creation.
We know from the Bible that, in fact, we do have a common father and mother, Adam and Eve, who are not the result of tadpole mutations, but of divine creation, and that all life is the result not of a big bang, but of a big God. You know, it takes more faith to believe in the evolutionist theory of the origin of life than the biblical creation account.
And our health reporter, Lori Johnson, joins us now to talk more about this. You do a lot of stories about genetics. What's your take on this one?
Well, it's really fascinating because ever since scientists began mapping the human genome about 15 to 20 years ago, we've learned all this information about DNA. We solve crimes using DNA. DNA is very, very reliable. So this is really great. It's almost quote unquote proof that the Bible is true. And my own personal take on it is I hope it's going to cause some people to believe who otherwise wouldn't have. We see in the Bible that one of Jesus's disciples, Thomas, wouldn't believe until he had proof of it, and he got that proof, and then he believed. Of course, we know that Jesus said, "Blessed are people who believe, who aren't seeing the proof," and that's where I fall in this category. I always believed in the biblical account of Adam and Eve, but now this is sort of proof, and there is some sort of cataclysmic event that happened before this happened. And a lot of scientists are saying, well, that's the Big Bang. And some Christians say, no, there was no such thing as a Big Bang. Other Christians, for example, Franklin Graham, say, yeah, there could have been a Big Bang created by God that caused all this to happen. And I'm in that camp too. But it's really fascinating to see all these things uncover that we see in the Bible. And another thing recently, and I was talking about this on the 700 Club earlier this week, and for our viewers who missed it, it's on our webpage, cbnnews.com, is this whole notion of epigenetics, where scientists find out that you can have bad behaviors like smoking or stress, and not only does it affect yourself in a genetic DNA type of way, but your ancestors, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren way down the line. And scientists are like, oh, this is such a brand new revelation. And those of us who are familiar with the Bible are like, not really. I mean, the Bible talks about the sins of the father being passed down from generation to generation. So once again, scientists are proving the Bible to be correct. And, you know, a lot of people say science and Christianity are opposing poles, but not really. No,
the more you dig, the more you find that's not the case indeed. What are some other scientific studies that carry biblical tie-ins, you think?
Well, I just keep uncovering these. And again, you know, the scientists are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we found this out. And I'm like, you know, anybody who reads the Bible knows this is true. For example, they're saying that stress is one of the worst things for your health. And one thing that relieves stress, one of the best things for your health, is forgiveness. And, you know, we know that Jesus commands us to forgive. Another thing is not to worry. We know on the Sermon of the Mount, Jesus says, don't worry. And we know that worry is so bad for your health. Giving, good for your health. I mean, the list goes on. And we know that God loves us and he commands us and advises us to behave in a certain way for our own good because it's good for us. So all these things, that fasting is another thing that's great for your health. Scientists are now discovering this. But, you know, God has been commanding us to do this for thousands of years.
Indeed. Real quick, does it seem like non-believing scientists have become sort of Christian apologists, if you will?
They don't even want you. About this most recent discovery about Adam and Eve, what I found most interesting was one of the scientists said this conclusion is very surprising, and I fought against it as hard as I could. In other words, this is a scientist who didn't want this to be true, but it is. So, you know, that testimony speaks volumes.
Indeed.